Greetings everyone, welcome to another installment of Law and Life Matters. My name is Cleopatra and I'm your host today. Today I am joined by Miss Cynthia Cele. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Cele. Yes. I'm Sotho, so I tend to go. So
no
Miss
problem.
Cele. Welcome to Law and Life Matters.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to come out.
No problem at
all. Okay, Miss Cynthia Cele is a candidate attorney, and I know that a whole lot of people probably have a lot of questions right now.
I'm sure. I'm ready to answer.
As do I. I've got a lot of questions for you, and I'm curious about a lot of things. And did I say thank you for coming out?
Yes, you did. And I said it was a pleasure.
I mean, hello. Please tell us about yourself, Cynthia, like the person that you are, where you come from. We want to know who Cynthia Cele is.
Cynthia Cele. Cynthia's from Eldorado Park, a small colored township in Soweto. I've lived there for most of my life. When I was 2 years old, my mom and I left KZN. We came to Johannesburg. We found ourselves in Eldorado Park. We're still there now. I'm extremely humble. I'm strong, extremely driven. Hence, I'm here today. It's an honor to be here. I'm blessed to be here by the grace of God. I'm here. From Eldorado Park, a lot of violence, a lot of drugs. Half of the friends I started in primary school with, half are dead, and half haven't matriculated. So when I say it's an honor to be here, I truly mean it. The place I come from was destined to break me, but I'm here today.
Phew, wow.
I know, it's a bit heavy. It's a bit heavy, but that is my truth. I stand in my truth. I own my truth. I come from one of the worst places. It's equivalent to being in Cape Town, the Cape Flats. That's where I come from. So more than blessed to be here once again.
Sure, wow. Yes, Cynthia, okay, tell us why law?
Why law? So I'd love to sit here and say, ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to study law. This is what I was always passionate about, but that was not the case with me. When I was younger, like I'm saying, I come from a place where the community I'm in was meant to break me. I was never meant to be here. So when I was in primary school, 1 year I'd want to be a doctor, the next year I'd want to be an engineer. It always was gradually changing. Oh, my friend wants to be a teacher, perhaps I should be one. So I didn't have a lot of direction in terms of the career path I wanted to go in until I was in grade 9 and you had to choose your subjects for grade 10. That was a daunting experience. I remember thinking, I'm not too good at maths. Perhaps I could be good at accounting, and then I took those subjects. Still, law was not on my mind at that time. I said, okay, perhaps I'll be more in commerce. Apparently, it makes a lot of money. So that was my driving force because of the place I came from. I believed what I needed to get out was money. So I was first money driven. I said, okay, I'll do something commercial. I'll be an entrepreneur of some sort. Then I was in grade 11. I was failing maths. I was failing accounting. I said, okay, now I need to change subjects. So I changed my accounting for history and I changed my pure maths for maths lit. And then people started telling me, what will you become with these subjects? Because in order to be a doctor, which is a very reputable profession, you need pure maths, you need physics, you need this. That's when I started researching. So with the type of subjects I have, what can Cynthia become? Law was the first option that popped up. I said, well, it seems like a lot of reading. I love reading. Perhaps I'll become a lawyer one day. And that's how my journey to law started. It wasn't something that I chose. It was something that forcefully chose me. And that's how I said, I'll study law then. And only once I was in the profession, once I started actually studying law in varsity, did I say, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I was meant to be here. Law chose me. I never chose law.
Talking about varsity, where did you study and how was your varsity experience? Talk us through that.
Okay. In terms of studying, so I was in matric, passed matric with entrance to bachelor's. Your teachers never tell you more about that. They always tell you just pass with your bachelor's and then you're ready to go to varsity. I did that. When I went to apply at Wits, I learned about an APS score. That's when I was like, what am I doing now? Now it's the APS score. Okay, I don't really qualify at WITS. You need to let that dream go. Pick up something else. I went to UJ. They said APS is fine. I said, okay, I should be getting an email notification soon from UJ saying I'm ready to start. It never came. I got rejected. That's when I realized that, you need to be humble. As much as you want to study law, there are thousands of other students behind you who has perhaps 1 point more in the APS. And unfortunately, I didn't get into UJ either. I was then accepted at UNISA. And at the time, I only have a single mother. My father stays in KZN. He's not extremely involved in my life, not financially, at least. My mother is a nanny and has been so for as long as I could live. My mother never went to school. She is uneducated, but educated in so many other ways. Everything I know I've learned from my mother. It was always a dream for me to go to varsity. So even when it was UNISA, she cried tears of joy. She said, my child is going to school. So I was happy it was UNISA. Then the logistics of it, the finances, wasn't too bad. It was something mom could manage. And then life took a knock on me, and I only could register for 3 modules. That's all mom could afford at the time. They said, okay, that's fine. So at the time, my mother was a tea lady at Shell. And she took a leap of faith and she went to the CEO of Shell and said, I see you guys have a bursary program. Yeah, I have a daughter who's very educated. She passed with entrance to bachelor's. Please, can you give me an email address or show me where to apply for a bursary for her? She then came home and said, listen, they are not going to do me any favors. You need to win this one on your own. But I've got the portal for you. Let's go in and let's apply. By the grace of God, I got a bursary at Shell. So then they said, hey, you're a UNISA student, because they usually do for WITS and UJ and UCT. And so I was a small fish swimming with so many sharks in that bursary pool. But again, by the grace of God, I got in. I got a bursary as a UNISA student. Then I attended lectures at PLS. It's a law school in Bedfordville. And then that's more or less what my varsity experience was. So I was a UNISA student attending at a Boston City campus college, which was, a little bit difficult at times, but that's my experience, how I got to study law and how I got into university. And then halfway through, we'll get more into my journey. We'll get more in. There's much to know. There's much to know.
So, since you're a candidate attorney right now, I'm assuming you're going the attorney route.
Indeed, I am.
And how did you? What motivated you, or how did you make that decision? Because there's various options. You can go the advocate route, you can go the attorney route, and there's many other avenues that are open. How did you arrive at that decision? How did you decide?
Yeah, so it more started for me while I was doing varsity. All of my lecturers were attorneys, so I never had an advocate friend or an advocate teacher that I could learn from, like, this is what pupillage is about. And so I just jumped into saying, I'd be an attorney. But then I also had to be true to oneself. I had to be honest with myself. While I was studying, we didn't have a lot of moot courts or leadership roles where I could tell whether I was good at litigating or whether I was good at drafting. And that's how I decided that, if I were to be an attorney, I'd get a bit of experience between both until I'm able to know whether litigation would be my purpose or whether I would be an attorney who was more comfortable with drafting and briefing and advocate. And that's how I chose to be a candidate attorney. And being at Legal Aid so far has been truly humbling, and it's in the best form brought out my true self. I can speak more. I take on more leadership roles when I'm in court. Most people are surprised and they're like, you should have done pupillage. You should have been an advocate. That's what I'm getting a lot. But over and above all that, I'm happy with the route that I'm going. I'll be doing my articles for 2 years. I'm in my first year now and I'm absolutely enjoying it. I found my calling. This is my calling. I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Wow, that is amazing. That is powerful. I was actually going to ask you about your interest in law. Like, whether you have a specific field that you're interested in. But now, I want to know more about legal aid.
About legal aid?
Yes.
Ask me anything. Ask me.
I basically want to know about what you do with legal aid, your daily duties. What is a typical day like for you at legal aid? You wake up in the morning. What typical day? Talk us through that.
I wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. And that's where my day starts. I commute to work. Our offices are in Alexandra Township. Absolutely love being there. The atmosphere, the people, they have so much respect for you, and they love it when you show them an equal amount of respect for them. I love being in Alexandra. I wouldn't have chosen any other office. In terms of the roles and duties that I have in legal aid, currently as it stands, I'm doing domestic violence cases, acting both for the applicant and the respondent. I do children's court, where I play the part of a family advocate. So we'd have on either side a mother or a father with their attorneys and their advocates, and I'm right in the middle as the child's legal representative. So I represent children both in the children's court, which is civil matters. I do child justice as well, where I'm representing the child where he is an accused, but we refer to them as child offenders since they are minors. I do court 3 as well, which is a court of first reception. So a lot of bail applications, formal bail applications. That's what I do. And then I do divorce as well. I've recently started doing evictions, which I'm finding interesting as well. So to describe legal aid in one word, hectic. Hectic. You don't know how much South Africa needs until you work at legal aid. 90% of our clients are unemployed. They are the indigent. They live in townships, in shacks. So when you're telling them you're evicting them from a shack, it might seem like something frivolous to you, but that is all that they have. And I've learned to humble myself. You think you're going through something in life until you get to work and one of your legal aid clients are there, and you realize that your problems are much more frivolous than that of your clients. So it's been a humbling experience. I've learned to show more compassion towards my clients. I've learned to go down to their level of intellect, not being able to speak English fluently. We might confuse with not being intellectual enough, but a lot of what I've learned has been from my clients, and in that regard I've begun to show more compassion towards them. They love me and I love them. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. In terms of doing my articles, I did go for an interview at big law firms. I even did vacation work at Fluxman's Incorporated, and I said, this is just like Suits on TV. The offices are beautiful. You get to order cappuccinos and all of that. So when I didn't get the interview there and legal aid called me, of course at first I felt like, is this what I'm going to be doing? But now I realize that my role is much more bigger than those in the big 5 law firms. I'm saving those who cannot afford to save themselves, and that in itself is a true blessing to me.
Sure. Yeah, ne?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say I never get tongue-tied, right? And I'm never speechless. But at this moment, so I need a moment. But any challenges on your journey, like so far?
One of the major challenges that I've been having is the language barrier. So like I'm saying, I came from KZN. I was 2 years old, didn't speak a word of English. Came to Joburg, didn't speak a word of Zulu, because like I said, I had to transition from being in KZN at such a young age to coming to Johannesburg and then being thrown into a majority colored community, hence you'll even pick up on the accent as well.
Yeah.
You'll pick up on the accent. So with legal aid clients, 90% of them are not English speaking.
Mm-hmm.
English is not their first, second, sometimes not even their third language of response. So it's been a bit of a challenge, me being able to communicate with my clients, because my Zulu is not that good, it's not up to scratch, but my understanding level is there. But in terms of me being able to communicate with them has been a bit of a challenge. Same with Spedi. Sutu. Those are languages that I usually struggle with. Just before the interview, you were speaking to me and I was like, yo, she has no idea. But I could, because of legal aid, I was able to pick up on the things that you were saying. So in that sense, it has brought me closer to my blackness, to my Africanicity. I've now been taken out of my comfort zone of only speaking English, and now I'm forced to speak my mother tongue, and to me that has been humbling. I'm enjoying that experience. My clients and I always laugh during our consultations because I'm always teaching them a bit of English, and then they're always teaching me a little bit of an ethnic language, and the things and the words that I hear from them, I'm then able to apply in the next consultation. So I'm far better than I was in September compared to now. We're approaching June. So in that regard, the language barrier has been a big challenge for me. That would be the biggest one. And other than that, it would also, in terms of my clients, it's being able to separate my emotions from my cases, because I do a lot of criminal work, and I've learned how to separate your emotions. I've learned notions such as just because they've been charged doesn't mean that they are necessarily guilty. Because you hear all of this when they say, you know what, legal aid is on record for this client, assault GBH, and then you think about the pandemic that we're going through with GBV in this country, and it's normal. As a woman, we are dying, black women are dying at the hands of these perpetrators, and it's hard for you to separate yourself from that and say you need to forget all of that, and just because they've been charged doesn't necessarily mean they are guilty. And then you find solace in these cases when you look at the docket and the copies thereof, and then you realize, you know what, it's actually not that bad. This is not what happened. I'm not saying that all my clients were convicted as innocent, but you see that there's a story to everyone. You'd find that perhaps something happened for them to do what they did. Like an assault GBH case where perhaps a woman was assaulted, it's natural for me to feel like it's hard to take that on, but then you read the docket and you realize that my client is actually a Section 77 patient, which in the Criminal Procedure Act means that they are mentally ill. He might have just walked into the store and just assaulted someone, but at the commission of the act, he had no idea what he was doing. But we are so quick to judge as people and say, oh no, he's a terrible person. And when he's sitting down and explaining things to you, you could tell that actually he had no idea what he was doing. So in terms of that has been the second hardest challenge for me, separating my emotions from my cases, especially during my time in criminal court. But so far, I think I'm doing well. I'm doing exceptionally well. If I have to say it myself, you have to give yourself credit when it's due, and you have to tell yourself to pick up when you need to.
Absolutely. So true. Well said.
Thank you.
Okay. I just want to find out who has touched your life. I mean, I know you've spoken about your mom, and such an inspiration there, because I mean, you've mentioned that she was, I don't know if the term tea lady still applies these days.
I'll
but,
explain, yeah.
Yeah, but very inspirational, really, because I mean, it can be easy for a single mother. I mean, and I say single mother because you mentioned that your father was not very active.
Indeed, she's a single mother.
It's very hard for a single parent to try to put their child through tertiary, and especially one that is not very educated, to go knocking on doors like your mom did, to go knock at child to say, look, I have a very, as you put it, very educated daughter, and please give her a chance, give her an opportunity. Your mom sounds like a very inspirational person.
She is.
Would you say that is where you draw your strength from?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I draw so much strength from my mother at times that I feel like, how does she still have any more to continue with a life of her own? Because it's my sister and I, there's two of us. We come from, I wouldn't say a really poor background, but we weren't very comfortable. The things that we do, that we have the money to do today, still feels like a blessing to us. My mother was, like I said, we came from KZN. She was never given the opportunity to go to school. Her parents were of the opinion that women do not work. And because of that, my mom started working at the age of 15. Her mom was sickly. Her dad was an alcoholic. He left one day and he never came back. She had two siblings that came after her. So she wasn't making any money in KZN at the age of 15. She uprooted to Johannesburg. Then she started cleaning jobs and working, and she went back to KZN. She met my dad again, and then my sister and I came. Then we moved back to Johannesburg. So it was a lot of back and forth for her before she truly found her feet in the city of gold, they call it. Then she started working as a tea lady when I was in primary school, after being a domestic worker for so long. So when she got a position as a tea lady, it might seem frivolous to everyone else in South Africa, but to us it was a big deal. My mom was working in a company, and it was so nice going school holidays. And even though she was a tea lady, because we're walking into these nice offices at Shell and being treated nicely, people are buying us lunch, asking us what do you want to do. Like, that was the best experiences my sister and I had as children. So her being a tea lady didn't mean any less to us. It was like, my mom is finally making it. And then she was a tea lady for a while. And when our contract was ending with Shell, after we had already started our varsity experience, my sister's 2 years behind me. So it's always been just her and I studying together, working together. My sister graduated from UJ with an honors in BCom Finance. She's also doing her board exams now. But that's just to show that my sister and I always joke and say my mom has no matric, but she has 2 degrees. She has an LLB and she has a BCom Finance, because truly we draw all of our strength from her. My passion, the strength that I have, the momentum to just keep on going comes from my mom. We were never taught to just sit down and cry. She'd always say, cry as much as you need to, but when you are done, what are you going to do? Keep on going. So all the strength that I have, she's truly been an inspiration to me. She actually came with me to the interview. She said, Melrose Arch having Starbucks. She said, I'm coming with you. Today is the day you are doing big things. So that's just to show like how much my mom has been a driving force behind me. I'm not in a position to say one of my role models would have been advocate so-and-so, or my mom has always been my role model. As cliche as it sounds, she's had an extremely tough life. We didn't have everything we wanted, but we had enough that we needed. So, of course, my mom has been a big driving force in my life. She still is. She's probably outside right now. She still is.
Sure, your mom is a real Mbokodo.
She is.
Yeah.
She is. She signifies exactly what we're doing. Exactly.
Igama lamakhosikazi malibongwe.
That is my mom. That is my mom.
Sure, yeah, ne? You see now, I've lost
I'll throw you off.
I'll
throw you off.
Do you have, before I even go there, candidate attorneys are very busy people. I mean, we know this, very busy people. How do you balance your work life? I mean, I'm assuming that you do have a life outside of
I do.
your work environment. How do you balance both your work life, your play life, if I may put it that way, the working, playing?
In the beginning, it was extremely hard because I was unemployed for over 7 months. I'd reached a point where I had almost given up before I had gotten the call from legal aid. I'd went to many interviews, and then the pandemic hit last year and law firms were not hiring. I was in distress, I would say. So when I got the opportunity with legal aid, I told myself that you need to work. I need to work. Every single day I need to work. So I'd find myself working in the office. I'd be working at court 90% of my time. I'm at court Mondays to Fridays. You'll find me at court. Fridays is an office day, and I'm drafting like crazy in the office. So whatever I didn't finish at the office, I would end up taking home. So I'd be working on Saturdays, I'd be working on Sundays, until I spoke to one of my managers. And he nicely put it to me. He said, you must really love your job, but you cannot be married to it, in a sense that you do not even have weekends, because I hadn't seen my friends in so long. I hadn't seen my partner. And when I was with my partner, I was always busy. So I feel like I'm kind of still in the process of balancing things out. I've now learned that work needs to remain at work. And when you are home, Saturdays and Sundays are my days now. I want to wake up in the morning. I want to have my coffee. Sunday nights, then yes, I start preparing. But I do have great work ethic. But I'm learning to realize that work cannot be everything. to me. It's my entire life, it's my entire being, but there needs to be time for God. There needs to be time for your partner. There needs to be time for family. You do not want to become so consumed in your work that you forsake everything and everyone that has been holding you up. Your foundation will now begin to sink because you feel like you're now at the top. This is my be-all and my end-all. And sometimes when you get that excited to do what you are doing, you become so passionate, which is a good thing, but your passion can sometimes become a danger to you because you begin to forget those who are building you up, and you feel like you're collapsing because your foundation is going, because you haven't asked, Mom, you know what? How are you doing? My sister, how are you doing? My partner, my friends. God, you haven't prayed in so long. The only time you pray is now when you find yourself in a case where you say, God, help me. But you forget that it used to be religious for you to pray every single day, and now you're finding yourself only praying for the things that you want and no longer what you need, like the air that we breathe, the food that we have on our table. So I'm still in the process, to be honest, of trying to separate work and have more time for that and dedication, but to give that equal amount and love to my family and my friends, and have playtime, go out. I'm 26, I'm young, I haven't been out in so long, but I'm telling myself, you know what, now it's time to start getting out there, play hard and work even harder. You have 5 days to work, I think you've earned 2 days of the weekend to do as much as you can with your family, go for a ride, have friends. So I'm still in the process of that. I'm almost well balanced when it comes to that.
Sure. So what I'm hearing is play hard, work hard, pray hard.
Pray hard. Pray even harder.
Just Cynthia, I'm inspired.
Thank you so much.
I'm pretty sure that everybody out there is feeling as inspired as I'm feeling right now.
I hope so.
Wow, you're phenomenal.
Thank you.
Do you have anything in particular that you would like to change about the law, or anything that you would like to, I don't know if achieve is the right word to say, during your career?
Indeed, I feel more in the criminal aspect. I feel like our law is good. We have a good constitution. We have a good criminal procedure act. But nothing can ever be without amendment. It's been amended before, and I believe that it can be amended again to support those whose rights are now being infringed. When something as simple as our human right to freedom, every single day I'm fighting with magistrates and fighting with the state that you need to let this person out of on bail because you're infringing their rights. So I would say that our law is strong, but sometimes our interpretation thereof might be at the expense of an innocent accused who hasn't had his day on trial but has already been seen as guilty. So one of the most important rights I feel is currently being infringed. It's a pandemic on its own, is our right to freedom. Not to go too much into law, but what happens in criminal court at a court of reception, so just so that the viewers could understand, is that you are charged. Sometimes you're arrested and then charged for 2 days before you appear in court. So that's 2 days in custody, and the state has no idea whether you are guilty or not. Those are 2 days of your life you'll never get back. And then there comes a point where you need to have an address in order to get bail. So working with legal aid clients, I've noticed that a lot of them come from townships like Alexandra, Diepsloot, Zandspruit, and it's squatter camps. Most of them come from squatter camps, and that could be extremely hard to find on a GPS, and therefore investigating officers are not able to verify those addresses. And then the court would say, you know what, in order for us to verify your address, the investigating officer was not able to find it, we're postponing for 7 days. Go back downstairs. And then you see these accused start crying. There are mothers with kids that are going back to Sun City because of the circumstances that they come from. We are unable to find their addresses via GPS because Zandspruit is a squatter camp. There is no house number, there is no street name, so it's a lot for the investigative officer to do. After 7 days, then they might come back because now they don't now have cell phones, they don't have family members who can come into court and verify these addresses. After 7 days, they come back and the IO would say, I still haven't found the address. Magistrate would say we're asking for 7 days, we're going to postpone for verification of address. And then you find yourself in a situation where now you're like, you know what, Your Worship, now we're going to do a formal bail application. This accused has been in custody for 7 days, and sometimes it's not granted. In that event, it might be postponed for another 7 days. So you find accused who have been in custody for 14 days, 21 days, for something as simple as an address. So I feel in that regard, the right to freedom is largely being infringed. And I feel like certain things in the Criminal Procedure Act needs to be amended to support those who come from backgrounds where something as simple as a house number or street name, if you do not have that, you should not be prejudiced. The court should not be biased in that regard, and bail should be granted. So if there's one thing as it stands that I'd like to be amended and that I would work hard to, despite which law firm I might go to, I might work in the Big Five one day, I might have a law firm of my own one day, but what I've learned at Legal Aid will never leave me. It's now shaped me into the attorney that I am, into focusing more on the indigent and people who cannot afford legal representation, but their rights are being infringed due to their disadvantages. I feel like our law has, to certain extents, become biased, or our interpretation thereof, because I feel like the law that we have is strong enough to hold us as a country, but sometimes the way we interpret it might be at the expense of innocent people.
Do you have any advice for aspiring legal practitioners out there?
Definitely. Just hold on to it. Hold on to it. Like, you have to want it as much as you want to breathe. You know the feeling when you're suffocating and you cannot breathe. All you want to do is to breathe. If you love law, that's how much you need to love it. You need to sleep with it, you need to eat with it, you need to pray with it. That's how much you need to want it, or else this profession is not for you. Because you'll find yourself in situations where, as myself, I don't get to bowl for my hours. I go to court, I'm there from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock sometimes, and I work as equally hard as any attorney that comes from any of the big law firms, with twice the compassion and twice the commitment, because at the end of the day, none of my clients, all 50 of them that I've represented for the day, would not even give me so much as a 10 rand, but I feel fulfilled in knowing that I'm doing my best for them. And that's all you can really do. Is if you love law, you have to love the people who come with it. You have to love your clients. You have to have love for your family, have love for your friends. You need all these people in order to be in this profession, because no man is an island. Rome was not built in a day. You need so many factors in order to continue fighting. So if you, I wouldn't say weak, but if you don't have the will, if you do not have the strength, especially as Black women, like what we are doing here today, you have to have all of that, because we have to work twice as hard to be regarded as equal. So if you're not in love with this profession, you won't last long here. You have to be able to do it for free. Take pro bono cases. You have to be able to know how to bill. You need to know your worth as well. Just because you're going through a bad time doesn't mean you have to accept anything. So there's a lot that comes with being in law, but you have to want it like you want to breathe. You have to do everything with it. You have to live by it. Every step you take. It's so hard to not think of. I've channeled myself to not be able to make decisions without thinking about the law. Something as simple as exchanging a watch at a store. Yeah, I have to know my rights in that regard. So when you study law, when you practice law, you become law. You become one with it in such a way that advantage will never be taken of you and of your clients. You'll be able to interpret your own rights better, and those of your clients even more. You have to fight. Every day is a fight. When you walk into that courtroom, you are fighting. The opposing will fight for theirs, and you have to fight for yours, and you have to come for what is yours. And you have to come with everything that you have. Consider all your clients on an equal basis, whether you are billing or whether you are doing it for free. Everyone in my eyes is equal, and I fight twice as hard for everyone. Yeah, all of my clients are regarded as the same to me, whether you are driving a Ford or whether you walked from Alex to our offices. Some of our accused even walk to court. They leave at 4 o'clock in the morning, and by the time we get there, it's like 7:30, and we're ready to go. So if you want to study law, you have to mentally prepare yourself. You have to emotionally prepare yourself, just to go full circle back to what I was saying, be able to separate your emotions from your cases, but want it like it's all you have, like it's the last thing you'll ever do in this life. If you have that, you'll be fine in law. You'll be the best attorney you can be, you'll be the best advocate you can be, you'll be the best magistrate judge, even reach the concord. You'll be the best at what you want to be if you love law that much. Just love it and it will love you. It's a dance. You just have to keep going with it. Keep going with it. Take your strides. That's my advice to them.
Sure. That is super powerful. I know I've asked you about your challenges, generally speaking, but what I want to know is, as a woman in law, are there any challenges that are specifically, can I say, or dare I say, that you've experienced just because you're a woman in law?
Definitely.
Gender-based, let's be specific and say gender-based challenges.
Definitely. I get a lot of those in more of my civil matters than my criminal matters. My criminal matters, it's the state, whether the prosecutor is male or female, whether the opposing, the attorney would be male or female, doesn't really have much of an impact in criminal, but I feel that presence more and that atmosphere more in my civil cases. I once had an instance where, because you're from legal aid, you've never met the opposing party until it's that time, and we're standing in the corridors in Randburg Court, and I have no idea who my opposing is, and my opposing has no idea who I am. And so I hear these attorneys, it's the attorney and he's briefing his advocate for the matter. So I'm hearing the names and I'm like, oh, that's my matter. That's my matter. So now I know I'm dealing with an advocate and I'm dealing with an attorney who is instructing the advocate. So already I know I'm a CA. I've only been a CA for 5 months. Now I'm beginning to doubt myself. And I hear comments between them, oh, I heard our opposing is legal aid. I said, okay, already we know state attorneys are regarded as much lower than private attorneys. I took that jab with a pinch of salt. And when there was a comment that was made as well, and he said, oh, it's a female. So not only am I I'm just regarded as a state attorney, it doesn't really matter to them. When they said, oh, it's a female, he thought it would be an easy push over, and that's when I had to strengthen my heart and my mind in saying I've now walked into a profession where males think that they are superior. Never mind the firm you come from, because they know that legal aid, we fight equally as hard, but he thought it would be a walkover because I was a female. And that's a perfect example of how the profession was shaped around men, and they are finding it hard to come to terms with the fact that there are strong women in this profession, sometimes even stronger than them. And completely off record, I won that case. And so in that regard, I humbled them, and that boosted my self-confidence as well. But it truly does show that as Black women in this profession, we have to fight equally as hard, sometimes even twice as hard, to get the same recognition, because even sometimes in court you find yourself making your arguments to the magistrate, and sometimes you speak in the tone of which I am speaking now, and they try to intimidate you because they see that they're a woman. When you're opposing is a man, objection, your worship, objection, and now they start hitting you with case law. But then you ask yourself, if there was an advocate on this side and if he was a male on this side, would you be giving him the same objections that you are giving to me? So when you have to walk in there, we have to study day and night. Like I'm saying, on Sunday nights, then I have to get myself back into work mode. Now I have to think about what my opposing is going to say. And if he is a male, I've already channeled myself to say that I need to come up with stronger arguments, because I know he's going to bully me. And that's essentially what is happening now in law. I'm finding that a little challenging sometimes, because like I'm saying, before they even hear your arguments, you just meet in the corridor and they'd approach with so much respect, like, who is the attorney for so-and-so? And then they'd see it's me, this young 26-year-old girl, and then they'd be like, oh, it's you. And then would see them high-fiving one another and like, this is going to be an easy win, but they don't even know the power that I have within me. Without a briefing advocate, I am litigating against advocates in court, and I am winning. Sometimes you lose and sometimes you win, but it's the wins that matter to me. And then you set an example, because when you walk out of that courtroom, they'd be like, it was a pleasure working against you, and now you've earned respect. And it's not supposed to be that way. The respect is supposed to be given by way of the profession, but I find that females have to earn their respect by fighting harder, by coming with bigger case law, by knowing your Civil Procedure Act and that act and that act. So in that sense, yes, we have to work harder. There is a bit of discrimination here and there, but if you're as determined as I am, if you tell yourself that I don't care whether he's a male, I don't care what racial group he belongs to, if my argument is strong, I'm going for it and I will not fold, that way you earn your respect. Like I'm saying, it's not supposed to be that way. It's just supposed to be reciprocated by way of the profession, but in most instances it's not. It's not that way. So once you've earned your respect, I feel like now your confidence also grows, and you believe that, when you put on your robe in the morning, you feel like, I'm here to slay. They're going to know who I am. When I leave this courtroom, they're going to know who Cynthia Cele is. And I've had a few of those instances where I walk out and I feel like, yeah, I showed you today. You will respect me today. And so they do.
Sure. Do you have anything to say, maybe to inspire other candidate attorneys? Like, there might be someone out there that's probably feeling, maybe they've been in that position where the opposing counsels were high-fiving themselves and whatnot, and they were feeling like, oh, I can't do this anymore.
Never take it personally. Never take it personally. The moment we are emotional beings, whether you are male or female, we have emotions. Even though you separate it from your work, sometimes it does infiltrate in its ways at most unexpected times, like just before you're about to enter the courtroom and you see them high-fiving each other and your confidence is low. Never take it personal. Just keep on going. My confidence levels at court are much higher than it is in the office, because I every time I walk into that courtroom, I need to tell myself that even if my argument is weak, I'm going to find something to argue about today. So even if you hit me here, I'm coming here. So you need to have your jabs on point. Never feel small, never minimize yourself because you feel like you're losing. Sometimes I'd fight on an argument and at the back of my mind I'd be like, I'm taking chances today. I really don't know what I'm talking about today, but I just keep on going, and eventually it turns into a really strong argument. It comes with preparation. If you have prepared for that case, your chances of failing are much lower, because if you've truly prepared, you already walk into the courtroom knowing what the opposing counsel is going to say to you. And if you know what he's going to say, you've prepared on what to say back to him in advance. So in that regard, as women, prepare. As candidate attorneys, even if you are doing your pupillage, prepare. That is something that they cannot take away from you, because if you've prepared, you know what they're going to say. And once they say it, you'd be like, Your Worship, now it's on. Now you feel like it's on. He fell exactly into my trap. The way I had laid that trap for him, he went into it. Read up on your case law. Case law is ever changing, and a lot of courts want to hear case law because, like I'm saying, you have your Constitution, your Criminal Procedure Act, and that act and that act. But once a court has made a ruling on that case law, other courts will be bound by the rulings thereof. So always stay up to date with your case law. Win your arguments. Even when you start doubting yourself, speak assertively. Put some power behind your voice. Put some power behind your words. And that's how you're going to earn your respect in that courtroom. Magistrates, or sometimes the magistrates even tell me, Ms. Cele, you need to calm down. You are being too passionate right now. I say, yes, Your Worship, I'm extremely passionate about this case. So let them see that passion, that drive in your eyes. Never be taken advantage of. Never fold. Never bend. Never break. When you walk into that courtroom, stand in your way. Stand in your way, no matter who's there.
Shoo. Yeah. Wathint'imbokodo, ne?
Exactly.
Malibongwe. Thank you so much for sharing, for joining us. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that everybody else out there is as inspired as I'm feeling, and wow. Where can our viewers find you on social media?
I'm not on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn. Cynthia Cele. I am on Instagram as well. Tia_Cele. Tia is TIYAH _Cele. That's me on Instagram. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a humbling experience. Truly blessed to be here today, to have shared my experience. I'd like to be here more. I'd like to make a habit of it. I feel like there's a lot of young girls who need to hear from women like us. You're phenomenal, and so am I.
Absolutely.
So,
because we rise by lifting others.
We do, indeed. So you are my foundation, and I am yours, and I'm glad to be here. And to more of these.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and please don't forget to subscribe and like. We are on Facebook, and it's South African Black Women in Law SABWiL. On LinkedIn, same, SABWiL, South African Black Women in Law. And on Twitter, it's capital letter S, SABWiL with A, capital letter A. And Instagram, it's SABWiL Alumni. And click like, subscribe, share, and also don't forget to let us know what you think. Give us your suggestions. We want to hear more of what you say. Until next time, from us at Law and Life Matters.
Bye.